Hey, Stewart's Chapel, this is Don Pierson and Don Counts, and we're here at my home, and this is Friday's devotion. We're in Song of Solomon, chapter 2, verse 15. Song of Solomon, chapter 2, verse 15. Probably the most well-known verse in Song of Solomon. It says, "Catch us the foxes, the little foxes that spoil the vines, for our vines have tender grapes." Catch the foxes, the little foxes that spoil the vines. That spoil the vines. There's been many sermons on the little foxes that destroy the very roots, the very vine that is supposed to produce its fruit. This story took place in Belize. It was early on in our Belizean work. That this particular season was known for the bugs. They were these big, big beetles. Of the 7 years we were in Belize, we never dealt with them again, just that 1 year, but they were big and they were massive and they were all over the country. And these beetles, these giant beetles would be everywhere and they would pop. I think that popping was part of them dying, but they would kind of pop, and you could hear the popping all the time, and these beetles were everywhere. At the same time, we were working on the Baptist camp, and we were running water lines for a two-story dormitory kitchen fellowship area at the camp, and I was coordinating that work. The piping had been, PVC pipe had been brought in and it was a massive amount and it was stacked off to the side. A team came and we glued all those pipes together throughout the whole building. Everything was ready. A massive project for a two-story building. Everything was ready for water. We turned the water on and there was no water. None. Absolutely none. Just perhaps a little trickle, if any. We thought it might be something problem with the water source itself, so we checked that all out. We checked everything, but still no water in any part of it, no matter where. We would cut into the line leading to it, see if it was water coming to the building, but there was water coming to the building. What ended up happening, though, caused us to have to tear everything out again and to rerun that entire plumbing. You know why? Those beetles. Those beetles, those big old beetles, were just big enough to get inside of that PVC pipe. And evidently, they filled that pipe. And so as we were picking them up and moving them, we never noticed. We didn't hold up the pipe and look through to make sure it was clear. Who would have ever thought that the beetles would plug the pipes in such an extent that it would literally stop the flow of water? And that's what they did. It was a very costly, very time-consuming failure on our part to take care or to even consider that those little beetles could delay the work so much. That's basically what God is saying here. The vineyards of Israel at that time went on and on and on. We're not talking about your vineyard in your backyard. We're talking about rows and rows of vineyards. And the grapes would come up, the vines would come out, and they would fall down, and the grapes would be just about ready, and so they would cover the ground. The foxes, not just a few, in fact, there's many stories about foxes in the Bible. The foxes would come and they would dig in the row of the vineyard, up underneath all those vines. They would dig down against the very stock roots of the grapevines where they would have the most protection from other predators. They would dig down there and they would make their burrows, and they would have their kits, and their kits, their babies, would come out and play, and they would damage the vines. They would knock the grapes off of the vines in their play. They would eat on the grapes, but it became a good place. The reason the foxes were there was because the shelter that it provided, but also because of the birds of the air that would come and nest. It gave them plenty of food. And the foxes would not only damage the grapes, knocking the grapes down, they would lay the roots of those vines bare and cause damage. And in the Song of Solomon, he says, let's catch the foxes. Catch the foxes, even the little foxes, even the baby foxes. Let's catch them, because they will spoil. They will spoil the vines. They will kill the vine. They will destroy the vine. In our life, we so often become so focused on the big stuff in our life that we are aware that can damage, that we overlook the things that really attack the very roots in our life. I'll give you just a few. Temper. I've heard people say, well, it's just a little temper. Everybody's got a little temper. Take care of temper early on, and you don't have to worry about it when it's a rage. A grudge. A grudge where you hold it over an individual, where you keep it. If you let it in there, it'll contaminate your whole heart, because it'll produce a root of bitterness that will spread throughout. A grudge. A lie. A lie. There's no such thing as a white lie or a little lie. A lie is a lie. And lies that are left to lie have a tendency to come back and hurt us greatly and hurt others. A habit. If you take care of a habit when it first begins or before it begins, you'll never have to worry about the habit. And it doesn't matter what it is. It's not always the thing that is sin, but it's anything that distracts us, takes us away from that which is of God. A habit. Our eyes. Our eyes. I know an individual, a man that I consider a friend. But there have been times when I've been with him where I've been so embarrassed because of his flirting. And flirting with the waitresses, flirting with any woman that comes, and it has nothing to do with what they look like. He's not a respecter of beauty. It doesn't matter. He's a flirt. And I think he thinks he's doing it innocent, but there is no such thing as an innocent flirt. Not for a man who is married. It'd be different if he was single, and even then he should be careful. Your eyes. Greed. Greed, by the way, always is sin. It doesn't matter. There's no such thing as a little greed or lots of greed. Greed is sin. It's a little fox that comes in, and then when it takes over you, you may look prosperous and successful. But, oh my goodness, what it does to the root, to the heart. Pride, self-righteousness. I don't really know what your little beetle is. I do know that those little beetles stop the flow. They stop the flow. The little foxes destroy the flow. Catch the foxes before they destroy the vine. Love you, Steers Chapel.